So, you remember Pac-Man? Yeah, the little yellow ball who has been the main mascot for Nemco for 35 years. The fellow will always have a place in my heart since the day I played Pac-Man World 2 on my GameCube. I didn't like the new reboot they gave him and all, though, as they made him as an annoying high school kid trying too hard to be cool. But this isn't the point. Before I start, it's obvious I'm a Pac-Man fan. I originally played the original arcade game on Worlds 2 Arcade Bonus Area, which allowed you to play all of the classic games from the 80s. One day, I was chatting with my friend on Skype, who allegedly told me that he found his supposed original Pac-Man, a ROM that was found and locked away in a safe in the back of an old arcade in some abandoned amusement park, and extracted from a damaged PC board. Honestly, I didn't believe him, but he gave me the link that I kept noted for a few days now, since I was really busy at school at the time. Eventually, when I got home one late Friday, I hopped on my computer and, as I was originally going to play some more Left 4 Dead 2, or Quake Live. However, I was reminded of the link my friend gave me thanks to my trusty notepad file that I've saved to my computer. I opened the link up and was taken to a browser page. The page itself had a story and stated the players who were able to finish this original arcade game board suffer severe psychological and physiological trauma, up to and including death of the subject. I put my hand over my face in corpse, thinking this was going to be another Lavender Town syndrome hoax, but I digress and clicked the link, leading to where I could play the game on my browser so I didn't have to risk downloading it and getting any creepy viruses, I guess. The game loaded with a corrupted ROM startup, accompanied by loud static before displaying the words insert coin. I noticed it briefly flashed from coin to soul for a split second now and then. I hit enter and started the game. The familiar maze board that many gamers probably remember displayed along with Pac-Man in the middle where the fruit usually appeared. The little jingle was stuck in my head as the child played, but it was really off. It started out normal before slowing down, then speeding up and growing loud towards the end, while also going at a lower key. Once the jingle finished, I could move Pac-Man presented by his iconic pizza shape. One thing I noticed was that I couldn't see any pellets unless Pac-Man came into views of certain channels. I occasionally run into a ghost roaming under the maze. He had a sad face and self a jack-o'-lantern. Almost reminded me of something that was out of Ghosts and Goblins, honestly. Munch and Pac Dots played his usual, but it was much deeper than usual. The ghost siren in the background was also slowed down. There were a few power pellets as any Pac-Man game would have, of course. I ate one and briefly able to see a full view of the Pac Dots and the location of the ghost. This did not allow me to eat them. However, when I touched the ghost, I simply died. Dying resulted in three things. The screen would zoom in where Pac-Man had died and spun around, while his death sound would play, but then convert into static. The screen would freeze before restarted, or the sprite of the ghost would flash upon the screen, along with a loud screech. Needless to say, it pissed me off. I eventually cleared the first board, and the next level started. This time, there was a red ghost, who had a sinister smile. If he saw Pac-Man, he would charge down the channel you were on the maze, where that launches buzzing sound. I should also add the fact that the level counter would occasionally flash two names, which I presume were the new ghosts that were added each time. The first level was named Blindy, which I can only assume is because he moves around randomly like Clyde. This time it was Screaming. Judging from his AI behavior, I think the name fits very well. If you get out of his line of sight, or while he was charging, would make things a bit easier. Only last thing to mention is occasionally his sprite flicker between his rather sinister bony grin to the original 8-bit sprite of Blindy, the red ghost in Namco's original arcade game. The next level introduced a much more annoying ghost, named Slendy. As his name implies, he acted somewhat like Slenderman in a way. He would teleport around the maze at random, and even pop up right in front of your face. All music and sound stopped if he was in your view. If you stay in his line of sight, he would start getting an angry look on his face, and then eventually turn yellow. At this point, if he does turn yellow, he will most likely teleport on top of you. The next level introduced an old one, who happened to be pink. This was probably the worst of them all. He would follow Pac-Man and face through the walls of the board. His appearance was probably the most interesting, compared to the other ghosts. He had strange tentacles, like an octopus or a squid, and he had a strange spot on the top of his head, almost like some sort of gemstone. Also, unlike the other three, he was the only one lacking a mouth completely. The fifth level was when things started getting weirder, though the walls of the maze started disappearing. No, I'm not kidding. They were vanishing. I can go through the board freely. It became more annoying though this way, considering I couldn't stay straight and the ghosts got an advantage. After clearing this board, I noticed the level was exactly the same. I can only presume the rest of the game was like this now. So I ended my game here, and the diamond resulted in a screen asking to play again. Along with a countdown, accepted just restarts the game, while letting the timer run out simply printed out game over in white text. If the latter of the three results I mentioned regarding Pacman's death earlier occurred, you get a jump scare of screaming and a screech when the timer reaches a certain point. Afterward, there will be a red screen with insert coin occasionally flickering to please help. Eventually, I closed the game and went to bed. Honestly, I never knew a classic could be given such a dark twist. At least not like this. I really hope this was not a real game. For if it was, then I feel guilty for those who have played this. Update. Additional repairs were completed on the original PCB section N1 through R6. Technician casualties. M. Harper. Fell into a catastrophic state during testing. Declared brain dead. New ROM compiled. Noticeable changes. Unknown. End report. Most of the updated did list supposed technicians who had edited the PC board all either died in some way of some cause. This, however, caught me, as it didn't list as many details as the others. Out of curiosity, I decided to play the ROM again. Playing levels 1 through 5 weren't too much different. The sound seemed to be altered slightly, though. Mainly Pacman's death, where it would play sometimes half before it turned into white noise. Here it only played half of the soundbite over and over like a broken record. The screech on the jump scare would change to a high pitch while noise. When I got to level 6 though, it's when things got interesting. Upon entering this level, the walls of the maze were back. I began munching my way along the channels of pack dots. It was quiet though. The ghost siren wasn't playing in the background. I was rather suspicious and continued onward. There weren't even ghosts in the little ghost box. After munching a certain number of pack dots led to something unexpected. I heard this loud, higher pitch, waka waka sound. Eating a power pellet, I found out what exactly this thing was. It was another Pac-Man, but it was dark gray. I wasn't exactly freaked out till eating another set of power dots. All the text boxes with score, lives, and whatnot changed to run. What sounded like an eyeball sound at a much deeper page. It started playing. The dark Pac-Man started moving faster. Eventually caught up with me, and the screen started glitching, showing several sprites and letters. Pretty much the original 256 taken to a whole new level of weirdness. After this, the screen cleared up, and I was taken to a first-person view. What the hell? The graphics were pretty much as in Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. Pack dots laid around, and I couldn't tell what was happening exactly. Eventually, I came across Pac-Man. What exactly was going on here? He was a 2D sprite with about 4 different directions. Much like the set game above, he seemed to be wandering around the maze, and I was confused. I pondered to myself, then it hit me. I was a ghost. I decided my natural instinct was to capture the yellow orb. Per usual, it seemed he was running away from me. But even if that was the case, it was freezing the damn thing, coming forward with a wide open jaw. Even if it was a simple pizza appearance, upon touching him 3 times, the game flashed to black and simply stayed that way. Upon closing, I can't help but wonder, what could this mean? Could this mean the ghosts were past Pac-Mans? Or even worse, past players? You can find a few versions of the game on the internet if you wish to play it. Probably the most popular place resides in Game Joy. However, I'm warning you, you might not want to play it. I still love Pac-Man to this day, and the original game is special, but I never thought it was a tell to this maze.